Hello, my Investie Besties. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new to Mommy Trader, welcome. On this channel, I am just documenting me and my family of five's journey to financial independence and generational wealth, and we plan on getting there in 9 years or less. So if that encourages you, or you just want to see how you can get started on your own financial journey as well, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend. So on today's video, I'm going to be talking about our 2-year debt-free anniversary. So it's been 2 whole years since we have became debt-free. Now, when I talk about being debt-free, I'm talking about everything outside of the mortgages. So personal loans, credit cards, car loans, anything that you can think of, we don't have that anymore. We paid it all off, and we have been able to keep it off for the past 2 years. And I just wanted to come on here with no notes, no script, and just sit down and chit chat like I do, the whole financial confession thing, and just be able to share some of the things that we learned and why we will never go back to that place again. So I can just tell you, number one, that I remember getting my first credit card. I was about 17 years old. My husband was 18 when he got his first credit card. And I remember when I turned 18, I was receiving so many credit card offers in the mail. It was insane. Had no clue what APR was, no clue what interest rate was, nothing about, a statement closing date or anything. I just saw that I had a $500 balance, and I could just pay $20 a month and I would be fine. And I figured, I had my whole life ahead of me. I would go to college, graduate, get this great job, be making all this money, and it would be fine. And I can tell you that is the worst thing that I could have done, because you know what it did? It just ballooned from there. $500 turned into $1,000. Then when another credit card offer came in the mail, I would sign up for it, and boom, more credit. Then before you knew it, life happens. Things don't line up the way that you thought they would, and now you have all this debt. And this is over the span of like a year or two. And you don't realize that in one moment, you could be adding years of heartache and suffering, of debt payments, of interest payments, because of lack of education. And that's something that we have struggled with. And one of the things that had helped us on our debt-free journey was having a different mindset about money, about credit, about finances in general. And yes, like the schools didn't teach it, my family didn't really talk about money, because money was just one of those, you don't talk about it type of topics. But the fact of the matter is, everybody was using it. Everybody needed it. And I believe that you have to educate your children so that they can, use it the best way they can for them, versus, them becoming a slave to it because of lack of education. And like I said, having this different money mindset of understanding how credit works, understanding how money works, understanding why it's so important to invest, why it's so important to know about your assets and liabilities and your overall net worth. That really helped us in this journey of getting out of debt and staying away from debt. Because there have been many times when people will get out of debt and then find themselves right back into debt for whatever reason. And I'm not talking about like if life events happen, somebody get cancer or something like that. That's different. But most people find themselves back in debt because they didn't really resolve the issue that got them into debt in the first place. And I can tell you that one main reason why I was into debt a lot was because of unresolved childhood issues. I wanted love, and I figured, and I didn't really realize it at the time. This was after, like some counseling and some maturity in terms of age and a spiritual growth, is that shopping was a way that, satisfied this need of love. I wanted to feel loved. I wanted to feel like I was seen, that I was, sat down and talked to and paid attention to and cared for. And shopping gave me that temporary feeling. It gave me that temporary high. But on the back end, because those issues weren't being really resolved, I was continuing to swipe. I would pay off the credit card, be good for about 1 or 2 months, and do the same thing again. And I can tell you, once my husband and myself, because we had to be on the same page in order to get out of debt and stay out of debt. We had to be, and maybe I'll make a video on like finances or money, and marriages or relationships, because we have 18 years under our belt now, 16 years of those married. So I do think we have a little bit, of experience when it comes to this. But I will say that we had to be on the same page. He had to want to be debt free just like I wanted to be debt free. He had to want to stay out of debt just as much as I wanted to stay out of debt. And that means we had to have, frequent meetings. Like, it doesn't have to be like every day or even every week, but twice a month or every time you get paid. You should have a meeting with your partner, your spouse, to make sure you both are on the same page. You both have the same goals in mind, because when you're together, you're stronger and your finances grow so much as a result. So having that different mindset when it comes to money helped us through this journey and while we're on the other side of this journey. Another thing that really helped us was realizing that credit is not a bad thing when used properly. And I remember when we started our debt-free journey and we were doing the snowball method. And the snowball method was really popularized by Dave Ramsey, who I just made a video about why we don't really follow most of his practices anymore. I'll link that up in the eye in the sky if you want to go back and take a look. But credit is not a bad thing if used correctly. A lot of billionaires and millionaires, business people use credit, and they know how to work this credit system like a boss, okay? And if you do your research and you educate yourself and you learn how to know when your statement ends and when your balances are due and how to not incur interest, and you get your credit scores up and you're able to use debt as a leverage in a good way. You're able to buy more real estate if you want to, so you can grow your real estate portfolios. I mean, it's just a different world when you know how to use credit the right way. And that's something that had to, really sink in to help us in our, not just our debt freedom journey, but on the other side. Because I can tell you, we never would have bought rental properties with the same thinking we had going into our debt-free journey, which was credit is bad. You need good credit, despite what Dave Ramsey said. You just need it. If you want an apartment, I believe some jobs now are requiring you, they check your credit. I know my husband, he was hiring an employee, in another department at his company, and his company checks credit for executives and management. They check your credit. I didn't even know that happened, but apparently it does. So you do need to have some type of credit, and you need to have decent credit as well, or a plan to work on your credit. So keeping our credit, using our credit cards, knowing about, the credit utilizations and keeping it under a 30% and paying them off each month, build our credit up to 850 plus so that we can go ahead and get the best interest rates possible for our, not just our main house, but our rental properties. Having good credit, we learned during this debt freedom journey, will have companies, will have banks like competing for your business, okay? Especially now with interest rates at like an all-time low, like they'll be fighting over you to get your business. And so that's something that we learned, is that credit is not this like scary boogeyman monster when used correctly, when having the proper education. Another thing that we have learned during our debt freedom journey and being on the other side of it is that it's so important not to go back to old habits. Now, I can tell you that sometimes when you're not looking, when you're not paying attention, old habits creep back in and you don't even really realize it. They kind of creep in almost like inflation. It never presents itself like this whole big bang. It's always in like little pieces here and there. You'll add a subscription here. Maybe you'll upgrade your car there. Maybe you'll put your kids in an extra activity here. And before you know it, your expenses were $2,000 a month. Now they're $2,500 a month. And then 6 months after that, they're $3,000 a month. And what I'm talking about is a lifestyle creep, especially if you're going through your debt-free journey, or you went through it and you're making more money and you're really trying to figure out, where's my money going? Why am I not able to save or invest more? Why am I not able to pay off debt faster? It's because of lifestyle creep. It really does trickle in a little bit, especially if you have children, because a lot of times lifestyle creeps trickles in through our children. We want to sign them up for all of this stuff. We want them to have the best versions of this. We want them to have all these types of experiences and not really have a plan to get them to those experiences, because it's not a bad thing. But if we don't have a plan or a method to get them to those experiences, we're just buying it. We're just signing up with no real plan or reason to make sure this is financially sound. You'll find yourself back into debt again. And so making sure that When our income went up, our expenses did not go up as much. So if our income went up 10%, let's just say, we want to make sure that our expenses do not exceed more than 5% increase. We've been actually doing really good keeping our expenses around the 1 to 2% mark. And that's really being, like generous about it, because we want to make sure that we know exactly what our money is doing, where it's going, making sure that we are looking at all the nooks and crannies to make sure our dollars are not like falling away and we just don't have any understanding of it. Another thing that helped us with our debt-free journey and being on the other side of this for now for 2 years is having not just a solid budget, which is so important. You have to know how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. You're not going to be able to invest correctly, build wealth, remain debt-free, and all of that if you do not have a solid budget. It is so important. But outside of having a solid budget is making sure that you stick to the budget, because we all make great budgets, right? We have these pretty planners, we have these great spreadsheets, but we don't stick to them. And I remember when we just came out of our debt-free journey, we will always be going over budget. And we realized that we had to make adjustments to our budget because our budget was not the same now that we were debt free. We had to make adjustments. And this is what I'm talking about. Adjustments is a good thing. You can add a fund envelope. You can add a vacation envelope. You should have these things kind of already laid out so they don't creep up on you and you don't know. And at the end of the month, you are overdrawn or you spent more than you thought you would, because now that you have a different type of lifestyle going in terms of not having debt anymore, you need to accommodate those things that may try to creep in. And it's not a bad thing, even when you're paying off debt, to have some like funds set aside or things like that. But to just kind of go through it and not have an eye on what you're doing, not have a plan, not have something laid out, a sinking fund or something like that, you're going to find yourself really stagnant in your process. I can tell you that my husband and I was talking the other day, and first of all, we didn't even realize it was 2 years post debt freedom. And we were just thinking about all the progress we had made, since those 2 years of being debt free. Our net worth went from literally like the negatives all the way to 700 plus thousand. We're talking about, now granted, we didn't just start investing once we became debt free. And I do say, if you can send money to your retirement up to the match while you're paying off your debt, do it, because time is on your side while you're younger, or even if you're not so young. Compound interest and time in the market is your friend. But the bulk of your money should be going off to pay off your debt, because what's the point in investing 10% and you're paying 20% in interest to a credit card, right? You're kind of losing money in that instance. But you can do both. And just thinking about all the progress we have been able to make, not having to put all that money to credit cards and keeping it away from the credit cards. Now, we do use our credit cards, don't get me wrong, but we pay that thing off every month, okay? Every month. We do not carry interest. Why? Because interest in terms of paying off debt is not your friend. Now, when you get compound interest on your side because you're investing, that is your friend, okay? And just being able to have this freedom, we feel like we've been able to breathe much better, sleep better at night, build up our emergency fund and keep it in the emergency fund if it's not an emergency, not kind of nibbling here and there off the money. But debt freedom has allowed us to just have choices, to be able to decide what we want to do, how we want to do it, when we want to do it. Debt freedom opened up our eyes to financial independence. We didn't even think something like that was even possible, even just becoming debt free. Could we retire early? Could we have enough money invested in the stock market and real estate, cryptocurrency, and our savings account, saving for our children's future, and still be able to retire at a decent age? I mean, is that possible? And it was so eye-opening to see all the possibilities that were available to us once we became debt-free, that we have no desire to get back into debt. Now, we don't know what the future may hold because we're not Yoda. We don't know the future. But the best thing that we can do is line up everything now so that we know, we're putting ourselves in the best position possible. And that's all that, we can do. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I am so happy that we have hit the 2-year debt-free anniversary mark. This is like almost as fun as our wedding anniversary, guys. You just have no idea how much debt stressed me out. It would make me uncomfortable. It would make me sick. I couldn't sleep. I was scared to answer the phone. And just to be able to be at this point 2 years post, it's just so, it makes me happy. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below. I love talking with you guys. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with a friend so that we can get more people access to this information so that we all can get to financial freedom or work optional, maybe retire early, whatever our financial goals are, so that we can get there together. Until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.